I'm really pleased to introduce on the line with me Mr. Charles J. Lewis. Welcome to Influence Spotlights.
Thank you for having me, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, one of the things that I think is probably the toughest thing for a single male, especially a millennial these days, is how do I really entertain a woman and impress her? And I think that you've got a little backstory to share with us that'll help us to put that answer in perspective.
I was sort of felt like I was Cinderella. You know, all my male friends are married except for me. And, some of them even joke that we got to find a woman for Charles. You know, we got to marry him off. And everybody was cooking for me in 2017. And I said, you know what? I'm single. I got all my married friends and their wives cooking for me. I says, you know what? Why not at least do something unique and discover what my kitchen looks like? Because I used to have Chinese food, pizza, and Subways on speed dial. Now I know what it's like to turn on a stove. I've acquainted myself with cookware. And I realized there's still an old-fashioned thing out there called cooking for someone. And when you cook for someone, it's a nice way to bond with her or him. And I said, this can be useful. I feel it can benefit me because, you know, I have a nice apartment. I live by myself. And, you know, if you don't count my cat, Tuxedo. And I said, it gives me a great excuse to invite a young lady over and have a little wine. And instead of just the usual phrase, Netflix and chill, why don't we throw into that equation, Netflix, I cook for you, you enjoy a nice home-cooked meal, and then we chill.
That is a great approach. And I bet you in this day and age, it's also an approach that's become pretty unusual. That speed dial for Chinese food or pizza or Subway it is these days the easy way out, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm embarrassed to admit, but I had only for an entire year a utility bill for my gas because I didn't turn on my range was $40.
$40 of gas bill for an entire year?
Yeah, all of 2017.
Man, well, you've definitely changed your approach to how you eat in a big way. Talk a little bit about, from your perspective, kind of the shift and looking at how you were eating originally versus how you're eating now. I mean, obviously, it's great to be able to entertain a woman with good food, but there's been a pretty big benefit to you in change of diet, hasn't there?
Yes. I was starting to, gain a lot of excess weight. My blood pressure was going up. So it was affecting me physically as well. And not to mention, you know, my pockets, you know, I'm eating out. I mean, literally, if there's 365 days in a year, I must have been eating at least 360 days. I rarely ate at home.
And that doesn't leave you in a place that you feel very good, does it?
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
So you've made this change in your diet. Talk about kind of where you went from food-wise in terms of moving from Subway and pizza to the food that you're cooking now.
Oh, great question. Okay, so anyway, the American diet, you know, is very appealing to the eye, but it's not so appealing to the blood. And so I decided if I'm going to stay home and cook for myself, let me do a little research and find out what nutrients am I missing, because there's a lot of mineral deficiency in the American diet when you eat from fast food chains like I did. You know, even if you're eating from something like Subway now, out of all the fast food, that might be one of the better ones, the less of the two evils. But even with that,
Right.
It's still processed. So let's deal with something simple as salt. I chose Himalayan pink salt or kosher salt because I feel that that iodine content is really good for your blood, and your blood and if you know salt can affect your nervous system, and it can cause so many medical problems. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really tell anybody, and I wouldn't advise anybody, but I do know that the American diet is preserved with two deadly things: one, sugar; two, salt. And most fast foods, they cannot exist if they do not preserve their food, because they're selling to the masses, whereas I'm cooking for one or a small group of friends. So I can afford to tweak it and tinker it to taste my taste in particular, but also to my friends and my family's taste in specific. And so I would know not to put that much salt, because hopefully there won't be any leftovers, because as you know, Chris, and I'm sure my intelligent audience out there knows, the best compliment you can give a cook is not to leave anything on the plate.
Absolutely. So talk about the shift in the kind of food that you're eating now.
Yes, I eat mostly vegetarian, but I do eat meat. I'll have a black bean patty with some avocado guacamole and some arugula lettuce and some heirloom tomatoes. And I may season it with turmeric, if I want it to be a little spicy, or maybe even some cayenne pepper. But I really, really love, oh man, it's like I discovered electricity. I really love fresh cracked black peppercorns, which is, a more gourmet quality of black pepper. Right. So yeah, I think it's really awoken my palate and my taste buds, and I'm enjoying food more because I can taste I can savor every morsel, that I'm eating, so it's just really been fun looking at different healthy spices that can benefit me, and also, cut back on possibly having high blood pressure. That was one of the issues that I used to have because of all that American diet that I was eating. All that processed food, with all that salt, the preservatives, back to that again, was affecting my blood pressure and making it, elevated. So yeah, now it's more stabilized. I don't have the high blood pressure issues anymore, and I'm able to taste my food more than ever.
It's a perfect lead in to you're in 2017, you're eating at friends, you're eating pizza, you're eating Subway, and you decide to make a change and you start making food from scratch. I imagine not only that it's better for you, but also it must be, like for me, honestly, I make breakfast for my family every morning and I love doing it. It's 20 minutes of just kind of focused time where I can kind of get my day going. I imagine that the process of cooking for you has also become something that's rewarding in its own right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like I would, without the peril of sounding blasphemous, it's almost like you said, a religious experience for me, especially when I'm doing it for my friends or, a date, someone that I'm trying to welcome into my life.
Talk a little bit about that. You're actually making food for people, and it just, I assume, especially for millennials, this isn't something that they're used to. They're used to the processed food. It must be surprising for your friends, especially your single friends or a young woman coming over, to have that type of a meal and really have it be prepared with care, and they must really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. They tell me, wow, no one's ever done this for me before. I only seen this in the movies. And I said, yeah, that's where I got the idea. I said, I listened carefully to my married friends, and also I was a little amiss. I must give credit where credit is due. Out of the 51 recipes, most of them, at least a good 48 of them, come from my aunt and my cousin. So everybody's getting the benefit of having Charles J. Lewis's family recipes. They come from my aunt, and, I'm not encouraging anybody to drink irresponsibly, but my aunt, for some reason, and believe it or not, she says she's a non-alcoholic, yet she believes in putting wine and brandy in her things. Like, real quick, I have a peach cobbler, peach brandy recipe, and
Oh.
that is really amazing. Who would think, at least I never thought, and this is from a man, everyone, who ate out 360 days out of a year. And I've never, ever have came across peach cobbler with peach brandy.
But I bet it's great, isn't it?
Right. So, yeah. So, what's fun about what I'm doing is it allows me to turn my kitchen into a laboratory and, throw out some of the rules and the rule book and just have fun, but with consideration of not trying to harm anyone, keeping in consideration that, just like myself, I don't want anybody to have any high blood pressure issues.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's just say for a minute, I'm a single guy, and I want, like, this resonates with me. I know I've been, when I have a woman over, it's not good because it's coming in the door from someplace else. If I'm a young guy who wants to entertain friends or have a woman over, what am I going to do to get these recipes, Charles? Can you help with that?
Oh, sure. You just go to my website.
What would I find on that website of yours?
You would find my electronic cookbook, and it's entitled Just Everyday Food, because it's for everyday people. Because I believe, Chris, that you don't have to be, a prominent, prestigious, world-famous chef to be able to cook good for yourself as well as for your guests or your date.
And I guess that's one of the things I think is really important for you to talk just a little bit about is you went from being a guy who barely cooked at all to really doing some neat stuff. I'm looking at the cover of your book right now, and shrimp and steak and chicken, and man, every picture on that book looks completely appealing, totally healthy. How was that process for you to get from the place of, gee, I really shouldn't call Subway tonight, to, oh my God, I can't wait to cook dinner tonight for my friends?
It was very nervous, and anxious. It was sort of like that. You remember how your first day of school was when when your parents first took you to school for the first time?
Yep.
It felt like that. It was like reliving first day of school all over again. And I was like, ooh, wow, what if I put too much salt? What if I put too much pepper? What if I put too much, vegetables and not enough vegetables?
Right.
So it was that whole, but it's like falling off a bike or learning how to walk. You only get good at it, by falling down and having the courage to pick yourself up. And that goes back to what I was saying a moment ago, which is I just see myself as a millennial who happens to cook. I don't even see myself as a professional cook because I'm not. So I'm not planning on opening up any restaurant. All I want to do is make people happy and inspire joy and happiness through food. So I'm not a pure vegetarian, although I have gone, a few years without eating beef, just to see what that was like and to prove something to myself. So I have in my 51 recipes in Just Everyday Food electronic cookbook, I also have some vegetarian recipes as well for the vegetarians out there. And for the meat lovers, nice. I cover every type of meat. I have pork, I have chicken, I have beef, I have turkey, I have lamb, I have duck.
Wow, duck too?
Yeah. You don't have to be Chinese to do a duck recipe.
And you don't have to be a professional chef either, apparently.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You just got to be willing to pretend that you're in a sandbox and building sandcastles. Only this time you're wielding pots and pans and you're using spices and vegetables, and meat, or maybe not, just vegetables. To create your sandcastle, which is your meal, your home-cooked meals.
Well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Being able to have people over and be able to cater to the food that works for them just makes it that much better of an experience, doesn't it?
Oh, sure. And then I don't know about anybody else, but for me, food also is it's more of a connection to your childhood and some of your best moments in life. Like, you know, anybody who lives in an urban city like I do, you know, I have nothing but cheerful, happy moments, memories. Whenever I heard that good humor truck coming around, you know? And that's what I want when everybody takes a bite of food from my food recipes. I want them to go back to their inner child, their childhood, and smile and laugh and think about who they had that ice cream cone with, you know, or who had that pickle, you know, or that hot dog at the baseball. You know, I associate things like that. You know, my father took me to my first baseball game with a hot dog.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's what I want. I want people to have good, happy memories with food. That food doesn't have to be something that you just eat to live. You know, my aunt told me a little bit of sweet story, you know, and this is apropos to everything, which is a family member said to her, you know, when he got really sick in the hospital and he needed, you know, to be fed by his nurses and everything just to survive, he said to my aunt, whatever you do, never eat to live, live to eat.
And what you're doing with Just Everyday Food, your cookbook, is, as you said, and I quote, you're inspiring joy and happiness around food, aren't you?
Absolutely, Chris.
It's very cool what you're doing. Before we wrap up, talk a little bit about the layout of your cookbook. What's kind of the progression of it from start to finish?
Well, we start off with, I would say, more of my more simple recipes, you know, and I go through, you know, at the very top, I have a table of contents where you'll see if you don't want to look at duck, if you don't like duck or lamb or whatever, you can just skip right to the meat that you like. Or if you don't like meat at all, you can skip right to the vegetarian recipes that I have, you know. Also, what I really think that separates my Just Everyday Food cookbook from everyone else's, as a single millennial type of person, I know what highlight and what moments are special in my life, and so I can relate to you, all the single people out there, particularly the millennials, which is a summer barbecue. Here it is summertime, and I have a summer barbecue recipe that's designed definitely to create an atmosphere of camaraderie.
Very cool.
And so with my summer barbecue recipe, I have cheese sliders, I have beef sliders, you know, and things along those lines. You know, very quick, very simple, you know, everyday food that you can make in a hurry, you know, and everybody can get back to their baseball game.
So you're saying that you can inspire joy and happiness with simple everyday food, aren't you?
That's what
Which
I'm
is
saying.
a great thing.
That's exactly right, Chris.
Your website is charlesjlewisentertainment.com, and there is a logo on there with a fabulous looking man. Tell us about that logo.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, Chris. I'm just trying to make it simple. But at the same time, you know, I've heard a lot of horror stories of people not having trademarks or having a logo. So I wanted something that I can monetize and also people can associate with my brand, you know, which is the joy and happiness through food. So I said, well, what can I do that would make it easy for me to protect and hard for people to steal? So I came up with the idea of my face because I don't know, hopefully there's not nobody who looks like me, but not too many, I hope, anyway. So I came up with my face as my logo.
I like it. I love the tie. What's with the tie?
I wanted something to distinguish myself, and I said, well, my colors are navy blue, which is my face.
Yep.
And then I said, well, I want to highlight my face. So I said, let me make it golden tie, you know, and that way it contrasts brilliantly and it makes it pop by having a golden tie in contrast to a navy blue silhouette of face.
Just love it. It's a great look. Hey, Charles, when you look at what you've done with this fabulous cookbook, Just Everyday Food, what do you think the thing that most people are going to say to you once they've had a chance to try it out?
Well, thank you, Chris. I would like them to say, wow, I don't have to be, this TV star, this reality TV cook. I don't have to feel that, I have to put on a chef apron and a hat, and go to a culinary school to do this, because somebody out there knows what it's like to eat out of fast food all his life. Someone out there knows what it's like not to even know how to work an oven, barely know what to do with a pot and pan. Yet this person took the time, 6-7 months out of the year of 2018, and he literally, dissected the science of good eating. And thanks to him, he showed me I can eat cheaply and responsibly, but at the same time, healthy, and enjoy it.
Yeah, enjoy it alone, enjoy it with others.
And yeah, hey, you make some friends, maybe you get married, maybe you'll have a nice date. But the main thing is, what I want people to take away if they're single, whoever comes to your house and eats my recipes, if you follow the recipes correctly, they will remember you for the rest of their lives, because one, that's an experience that everyone can give them, and two, they're not going to have my recipes.
Charles J. Lewis, telling your listeners, don't let your great taste go to waste, inspiring joy and happiness with his wonderful cookbook, Just Everyday Food. You can be found once again at charlesjlewisentertainment.com, and also you can email Charles at charlesjlewisentertainment.com. I want to thank you for what you've gone through to get to this place of really helping to, as you said, quote unquote, inspire joy and happiness in people's lives with food. Charles, thanks so much for being on Influence Spotlights.
Thank you for having me, Chris. It's been my pleasure.